Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at FreeBSD.
Yeah,
You sent over a chapter from the FreeBSD handbook
right.
and the FreeBSD Wikipedia page.
Yeah, it looks like someone is serious about getting into FreeBSD.
Yeah, looks like you're really ready to understand this operating system. And I think we've got a really good setup here
Yeah.
to give you a solid understanding of FreeBSD, from its history to its capabilities to why it matters in today's world.
Yeah, it's not just some niche operating system.
Right.
FreeBSD is quietly powering a lot of the internet,
Right.
even some of the apps that you might have on your phone.
Okay, so let's just start with the basics.
Yes.
What is FreeBSD exactly? We hear like, Unix-like open source,
Right.
but what does that actually mean for someone who might want to use it?
Well, you can think of FreeBSD as kind of like a close relative of macOS,
Okay.
but with a stronger focus on servers and networking.
Yeah.
The thing that sets it apart, though, is that FreeBSD is what we call a complete system. That means everything. The kernel, the drivers, the utilities, documentation. It's all developed together as one tightly integrated package.
Hmm.
That's not always the case with other open source operating systems.
Oh, if I'm hearing you right,
Yeah,
it's like getting a perfectly tuned car right off the lot
exactly.
instead of having to build it yourself from a box of parts.
Yeah, exactly. And that focus on a unified experience comes straight from FreeBSD's roots in the Berkeley Software Distribution, or BSD.
Okay.
It has a very long history of innovation in the world of operating systems.
Yeah, the Berkeley connection, the Wikipedia entry really went deep on that.
Yeah.
I was surprised to learn how much of FreeBSD's story is intertwined with the early days of Unix.
Yeah, for sure.
But does that history actually matter for someone using it today?
I would say it does.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Would you rather trust your data to a brand new operating system or one that has been kind of refined and battle tested for decades?
Yeah.
You know that legacy is a big part of why FreeBSD is known for its rock-solid stability.
Okay, so we're talking about stability.
Yes.
A complete system.
Yeah.
It's starting to sound like FreeBSD is this super reliable workhorse of an OS.
It is.
But what about freedom?
Yeah.
I know the FreeBSD is about more than just cost.
Absolutely.
Right.
FreeBSD is released under what we call the permissive BSD license.
Okay.
So you're free to modify and use the code however you like, even in commercial products, without the restrictions of some other open source licenses.
So if I'm a company and I'm looking to build a product based on FreeBSD,
Yeah.
I've got a lot of flexibility there.
Yeah, a lot of flexibility.
But why would I choose FreeBSD over something like Linux, which is also open source?
Right.
What are the real-world advantages?
Well, let's go back to that idea of stability.
Okay.
When we're talking FreeBSD, we're talking about systems with incredible uptime,
Okay.
servers that need to run 24/7,
Uh-huh.
critical infrastructure, situations where failure simply isn't an option. Right.
And FreeBSD's networking capabilities are legendary. It's a beast when it comes to handling network traffic efficiently and reliably.
Yeah, that makes sense. The Wikipedia article mentioned companies like Netflix and WhatsApp relying on FreeBSD. Those are companies with massive user bases.
Huge.
They can't afford any downtime.
No.
But it wasn't always smooth sailing for FreeBSD, was it?
No.
I read about that lawsuit with AT&T over Unix code back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Sounds like a pretty pivotal moment.
It was. It was a legal battle that really forced FreeBSD to reinvent itself and solidify its commitment to open source.
Okay.
Basically had to rewrite large portions of the code base from scratch.
Wow.
It was a huge undertaking,
Yeah.
but it ultimately strengthened the project and its dedication to open source principles.
That's a pretty powerful story of resilience. I mean, to go through something like that and come out even stronger on the other side,
Yeah,
that says a lot about the people behind FreeBSD.
for sure.
It's not just code.
There's a real community driving this project forward.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That community spirit is one of the things that makes FreeBSD really special.
Yeah.
It's not just about writing code. It's about sharing knowledge, supporting each other, and constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible with the technology.
Yeah, I can definitely see that coming through in the handbook.
Yeah.
They really emphasize that anyone can contribute, even if you're not a hardcore programmer.
Exactly.
Right.
Whether it's documentation, testing, or just helping other users on the forums, there's a place for everyone in the FreeBSD community.
Okay, so we've got a good sense of what FreeBSD is,
Yeah.
its origin story, and the overall philosophy.
Yeah.
It's a stable, reliable,
Yes.
flexible system with a strong community behind it.
Absolutely.
Where do we go from here?
Well, let's get into some of the nuts and bolts of what makes FreeBSD tick.
Okay.
We've got some really cool features to unpack,
Right.
and I think you're going to be impressed by what you see.
All right, let's talk features. The handbook calls the ZFS file system revolutionary.
Yeah.
And the Wikipedia page dives into all this cool stuff about, like, snapshots.
Right.
But what does that mean for someone who's not a storage expert?
So think of it this way. ZFS is like having a time machine for your data.
Yeah.
You can take these snapshots,
Mhm.
which are basically frozen copies of your entire file system at that specific moment in time.
Right.
So if something goes wrong, accidental deletion, data corruption, whatever,
Yeah.
you can just instantly revert back to a previous snapshot, and it's like the problem never even happened.
So it's not just about backing up your data.
Right.
It's about having the ability to rewind time on your entire system.
Exactly.
That sounds incredibly powerful,
It is.
especially for mission-critical applications where downtime is just a nightmare.
For sure. And ZFS is also designed with data integrity in mind.
Okay.
So it uses checksums in every level to ensure that your data isn't silently getting corrupted. So with ZFS, you can have a much higher level of confidence that your data is safe and sound.
Yeah, that peace of mind is definitely worth something.
Absolutely.
And it's not just ZFS, right? The handbook also mentions GOM,
Yeah.
this modular framework for managing storage.
Right.
It sounds pretty complex.
It can be, but it's also incredibly flexible.
Okay.
Think of GOM as like a set of building blocks
Uh-huh.
that you can use to create all sorts of interesting storage configurations.
Okay.
You can set up arrays for redundancy,
Okay.
encrypt your disks for security, even create network-backed storage.
Sure.
FreeBSD really gives you the tools to tailor your storage solution to your specific needs.
That's impressive. But let's move beyond storage for a second.
Sure.
What about jails?
Yeah.
I know they're used for isolation, but how do they compare to container technologies like Docker?
Right. So jails have actually been around much longer than Docker.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're a bit more lightweight and they integrate more tightly with the operating system.
Mhm.
Think of them as like mini virtual environments within your FreeBSD system.
Okay.
You can use jails to isolate applications,
Uh-huh.
restrict their access to resources,
Mhm.
and just create a more secure environment overall.
So it's a way to sandbox applications and prevent them from interfering with each other
Exactly.
or potentially, harming the rest of the system.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense, especially from a security standpoint.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, the Trusted BSD project really stood out in the Wikipedia article.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're really serious about keeping FreeBSD secure.
They are, yeah. Trusted BSD is all about building security into the very core of FreeBSD.
Okay.
They're developing features like mandatory access control, or MM, which allows you to define very fine-grained permissions for users and processes. So it's a way to ensure that even if an attacker compromises one part of your system,
Right.
they can't easily gain access to everything.
So it's about limiting the damage that an attacker could inflict. Yeah, that's a huge advantage in today's world where cybersecurity threats are constantly evolving.
For sure.
But all this security talk is making me a little nervous.
Yeah.
Is FreeBSD hard to use?
Not at all. FreeBSD has a reputation for being a bit more hands-on than some other operating systems,
Okay.
but it's also incredibly well documented.
Okay.
The handbook you provided is a great example of that.
Right.
And the community is incredibly helpful.
Uh-huh.
If you ever get stuck, there's tons of resources and forums where you can get help.
Okay. Good to know. But there's one more thing I'm curious about.
Yeah.
dtrace.
Yeah.
The handbook describes it as a dynamic tracing framework.
Right.
But what does that actually mean in plain English?
Well, imagine being able to see inside your computer while it's running.
Okay.
Like, to understand exactly what each process is doing, how it's using resources, where bottlenecks are occurring.
Yeah.
That's essentially what dtrace lets you do.
Wow.
It's an incredibly powerful tool for analyzing performance and debugging complex issues.
So it's like having X-ray vision for your operating system.
Exactly.
That sounds incredibly helpful for developers,
Absolutely.
system administrators,
Yeah.
anyone who really wants to understand what's going on under the hood.
For sure.
Okay, so we covered some pretty powerful features here.
Yeah.
ZFS for rock-solid data storage.
Yep.
Jails for security and isolation.
Uh-huh.
Trusted BSD for hardening the system.
Right.
And dtrace for deep system analysis.
Yeah.
It's clear that FreeBSD has a lot to offer from a technical standpoint.
Absolutely.
But I keep coming back to this idea of the FreeBSD community.
Yeah.
What is it that makes this community so special? It seems like everyone who talks about FreeBSD, raves about the community. What makes it so different?
Well, it's a combination of factors, really. First, there's this shared commitment to excellence.
Hmm.
Everyone involved, from the core developers to the casual users, they care deeply about making FreeBSD the best it can be.
Okay.
And that passion is contagious.
So it's not just about using FreeBSD, it's about being part of something bigger, contributing to a project that you believe in.
Exactly. And the FreeBSD community is incredibly welcoming to newcomers.
Okay.
You don't need to be a coding wizard to contribute,
Right.
Whether you're writing documentation, helping with testing, or just answering questions on the forums, every contribution is valued.
That's really cool. It sounds like a real sense of ownership and shared responsibility.
Yeah.
And the FreeBSD Foundation plays a role in all of this, right?
They do. The foundation provides a lot of the infrastructure and resources
Okay.
that keep the project running smoothly. They also offer grants for development and travel, which helps to ensure that talented developers from all over the world can contribute to FreeBSD.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about FreeBSD's history, its technical strengths,
Yeah.
this amazing community, and even the foundation that supports it all.
Right.
What's the main takeaway for our listener? Why should someone seriously consider using FreeBSD?
FreeBSD is a mature, robust, and incredibly versatile operating system. It's perfect for anyone who values stability, security, and performance. And the fact that it's open source with a permissive license
Right.
means you have the freedom to use it and modify it however you see fit.
So if you're tired of operating systems that feel like they're constantly breaking, or you're concerned about security and data integrity,
Yeah.
FreeBSD might be the perfect solution.
I think so. It's a powerful platform for anything from personal servers to enterprise-grade applications. But here's something to ponder. Given FreeBSD's emphasis on reliability and efficiency, do you think it could have a bigger role to play in emerging technologies like cloud computing and edge computing?
That's a really interesting question. Those are areas where stability and performance are absolutely critical.
Yeah.
And FreeBSD's track record in those areas is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It definitely seems like it could be a great fit.
It does, doesn't it? FreeBSD has this history of adapting to new challenges and finding innovative solutions. I think it'll be really exciting to see how FreeBSD evolves in the coming years.
Well, I know I'm going to be keeping an eye on it. This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive. Thanks so much for guiding us through the world of FreeBSD.
It was my pleasure. I hope this has sparked a curiosity in you to learn even more.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive, and until next time, keep exploring.